Iowa basketball trending in the wrong direction as we're just days away from the all-important month of March. Why it's not yet time to panic on this Iowa basketball squad. Plus, an exclusive interview with incoming Iowa wide receiver Jarriett Buie out of the Tampa area coming up during week 212 of Brada's Branded Thoughts. This is from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Straight from the man cave Kinnick under the kitchen, authentic, original player art prints are being drawn up for Hawkeye fans everywhere. From under the kitchen's Murray Legacy print, which features former Hawkeye Kenyon Murray, current Hawkeye Chris Murray, and current Sacramento King Keegan Murray, to football players Lucas Van Ness, Torrey Taylor, and Cooper DeJean, to wrestlers Tony Cassiope, Alex Marinelli, and Real Woods. Oh, and only one of the greatest athletes to ever compete at Iowa, Spencer Lee. There are so many options available, and they make great gifts. Visit Under the Kitchen on Facebook or at Under the Kitchen's new website. It's underthekitchen.square.site. That's underthekitchen.square.site. Check out Under the Kitchen today and get your authentic, original Hawkeye print. Week 212 of Brada's Branded Thoughts here from the Hawkeye of the Storm. First of all, thank you for being here, whether you're watching on YouTube or perhaps you're listening to our podcast. We're available on Spotify, Apple, Anchor, Google, all of your major podcast platforms. Check us out and be sure to subscribe and tell your friends about what we're doing here from the Hawkeye of the Storm post-game coverage after every Iowa men's basketball game through the month of March. But speaking of March, the Iowa basketball team trending in the wrong direction. There's no question about it, having lost 2 straight games on the road. And of course, Iowa has struggled on the road all season, but these last 2 games have been quite lopsided. 2 games in which Iowa's opponent didn't shoot the ball great. Wisconsin really struggled from 3 last night, recording this on the 23rd of February, Thursday, February 23rd. Wisconsin really struggled from outside last night as well, but Iowa shooting a measly 11% from 3. And I understand the concern. This has become a trend for Iowa this season on the road. And as Coach Close brought up on our postgame show last night, it is somewhat normal for teams to struggle on the road. And you see that across the college basketball landscape, especially in the Big Ten this year, teams struggling on the road and especially struggling to shoot from behind the arc. So that's somewhat normal. But Iowa's numbers on the road during conference play have been mind-boggling for an offense that is one of the best in the country in offensive efficiency. I'm going to run through some numbers that I did relay last night, and we're going to run through every road game Iowa has played in the conference this season, and you'll see a trend here, a somewhat disturbing trend with Iowa's inability to shoot the ball, specifically from behind the arc. We'll start with number 1, Nebraska, the loss back in December. Iowa shooting 26% from the field in Lincoln, 25% from 3. Last night stunk of Nebraska. It reeked of Lincoln, Nebraska, in my opinion, just the way Iowa played in that game back in December, and of course, the way they failed to shoot the ball last night. Penn State on the road. We know the first half, Iowa fell down by over 20. They come back, nearly completed that comeback in the second half. So some of these numbers were recovered by means of a strong second half, but still shot just 44% from the field, 28% from 3. That's really the number that jumps off the box score at you. 28%, 7 of 25 from 3 for Iowa at Penn State. The one real outlier for Iowa's road contest during conference play this season, the one game where Iowa put together a real complete performance on both ends, was at Rutgers. What a performance for Iowa back in early January. Shot 45% from the field, shot 44% from 3, made 12 threes on the day, and the Hawkeyes defeat Rutgers inside the rack by 11. Of course, they shot the ball well at Columbus against Ohio State, scored 77, but gave up 93. Not an ounce of defense in that game. So you could say there have been 2 outliers as it relates to shooting the basketball. Rutgers and Ohio State. The Hawkeyes shooting 45% from the field against Ohio State, 46% from 3, made 11 threes, but you can't win giving up 93. How about Michigan State? Hawkeyes battled with the Spartans. I thought it was a really high-quality basketball game. Iowa's defense really solid in this game, held Michigan State to 39%. In East Lansing, the Hawkeyes 46% from the field, but just 18% from 3. Another game in which they struggled mightily from behind the 3-point arc. How about Purdue? They were the number 1 team in the country when the Hawkeyes faced off against the Boilermakers a couple weeks back. The Hawkeyes losing by 14, shot 45% from the field, but again, 28% from 3. Iowa won at Minnesota, shot 38% from the field, 39% from 3. That's a really bad Minnesota team. Those are okay numbers, but again, a really bad team and a crowd that was very bare on Super Bowl Sunday. The Hawkeyes did take care of business, but certainly would not count that towards anything as we head into March. How about Northwestern? Iowa losing by 20 at Northwestern on Sunday. As we know, shot 43% from the field, 13% from 3. Just abysmal. 3 of 24 from the three-point arc, but from behind the three-point arc on Sunday against Northwestern. And, of course, last night, 3 of 28, 11% from 3, 32% overall. So that means they are just, over the last 2 games, they're 6 of 52. 6 of 52 from behind the arc. That is an unbelievable, an unreal number. And, you know, there is concern. Iowa's inability to shoot away from home. And we talked with Coach Close about this last night. If you missed the postgame show, it's available to watch or listen to, again, on YouTube and our different podcast platforms. But here's why I don't think it's quite yet time to panic regarding this basketball team. And I understand there's this term Fran fade, which really doesn't hold a ton of water given recent history. Look at how Iowa played late in the season last year. Yes, they came up short in the NCAA tournament, but won the Big Ten tournament, rolled at the end of the regular season. We can always point to anecdotal evidence that supports a narrative like the Fran fade, but in all reality, I just don't think it holds water if you look at Fran's resume here. Yes, they've struggled in the tournament, but fading in late February and into March isn't always the case with Hawkeye squads. Go back to Aaron White's marquee year. Iowa was rolling heading into tournament play and just kind of fizzled out once we got to tournament play. But this is why I don't think it's yet time to panic. You look back at Iowa's start to conference play. They start 0-3. They had a double overtime loss at home to Wisconsin, got killed on the road at Nebraska, lost at Penn State. And at the time, Nebraska and Penn State, we perceive both those teams to kind of be lower tier teams. Certainly Nebraska. Penn State is going to end up probably in the bottom 4 of the conference, as is Nebraska. And so those were tough losses, and Iowa shot the ball very poorly in those losses. Now, one side note we should bring up, when Iowa was struggling during December, and of course that also featured the loss at home to Eastern Illinois, Chris Murray had missed time. He actually missed the Eastern Illinois game, missed the Wisconsin game. He was back for Nebraska and Penn State. You know, it was around finals week. It was just a hard time for Iowa to get their feet back under him. In fact, we asked Coach Close about Iowa and their status, his concern about that team moving forward, because a lot of people were pushing the panic button after that 0-3 start. Let's quickly flash back to what Coach Close said after the 0-3 start, why he kind of calmed the fears of Hawkeye fans out there who are concerned. Notice what Coach Close said after the 0-3 start.
Like I said, until I see the team together for an extended period of time with no huge breaks, I know I'm making excuses, but Chris has been out a while. They had finals before that game. They still should have won a game. They had a big break before this game. Connor's out. They just have not – the team's not that good that they can't have – they need practice. They need to play. And so I think we'll know a lot more in about 2 weeks. And hopefully there's enough character in that locker room that it's going to come forward, and we'll see it over the course of the next few days, or it's going to be a long year.
And the reason why that statement by Coach Close was relevant at the time is because, again, a lot of people had not thrown in the towel, but there was serious doubts about Iowa's ability to compete for an NCAA tournament spot. What happens after that? The Hawkeyes win 9 of 12, and yes, they've struggled on the road throughout that stretch, but one of those road games was a win at Rutgers. They took care of business against Minnesota, shot the ball pretty well on the road at Columbus, just struggled defensively. But the point is, they recovered 9 of 12 in a very difficult league. They've put themselves squarely in position to make the NCAA tournament. It's not a done deal yet. I'll talk about that in a moment. But the reason why I wanted to bring up that clip from a couple months ago is I want to show you the clip from last night. I asked Coach Close about his level of concern or even potential panic following Iowa's loss to Wisconsin. Here's what Gary had to say. On a scale of 1 to 5, give me your level of panic, with 1 being the least, 5 being the most. Not as a coach, as a, you know, I mean, obviously Fran's not panicking. I get that, but
yeah. I'll tell you what, I've got to see Saturday's game. That's going to be big. If they play like they played the last 2 games Saturday, then it's a 5.
Okay.
But you know, it's tough to win on the road in this league against 2 real good defensive teams. So, I think Saturday is huge, and if they've got to play well Saturday. obviously to win, but for their own psyche. So, like a lot of people, I'm concerned, but I want to see how they play on Saturday before I get real panicky.
And I agree with Gary. Not time to hit the panic button yet. If they go out and lay an egg against Michigan State on Saturday, okay, there's some serious level of concern. But we've seen Iowa lay eggs on the road this season. We saw them do it back in late December, early January, and they found a way to get it going again. Here's the bottom line. Iowa struggles to shoot from outside, especially in their backcourt. We understand Tony Perkins' best trait is not his three-point prowess. Same can be said for Aaron Eulis. So when Connor McCaffrey is struggling from three and when Chris Murray is struggling from three, you have almost no three-point production from your starting unit. And Iowa got things rolling in January and early February by means of strong three-point shooting from both of those guys. Peyton Sandfort comes in off the bench. He got out of his slump that really seemed to last for 2 whole months in November and December. He started to get it going in conference play, and that certainly helped as well. Josh Dix was giving you some minutes. All those guys are cold right now. So it's easy to look at Iowa's backcourt and say, well, why hasn't Fran recruited better shooters? We understand there have been circumstances that have hurt Iowa. Keegan Murray going to the draft early. You can't blame Fran for that. I think the argument can be made that Fran should have made a harder push for shooters in the transfer portal. But Connor McCaffrey was shooting at a really high clip at the beginning of the season, as was Chris Murray. So I think the hope from Iowa, the staff, would be, look, we have trust in those guys, and if they're making threes, we don't need Perkins, we don't need Eulis to be great three-point shooters. Those guys have proven over the 10 to 12 games in conference play prior to these last 2 contests that they can shoot the ball at a high clip, at a clip that's going to be good enough to get them into the tournament. Now, how far can they go in the tournament? We'll see. But right now, they're just in a funk. Everybody's in a funk. Maybe we see more minutes out of Dasonte Bowen and Josh Dix. Dasonte Bowen didn't see the court last night, despite the struggles offensively. So we'll see. But I have great trust in Coach Close and his expertise. And he talked last night about Iowa's roster deficiencies as it relates to shooting. But at the same time, I think what he said about Saturday is valid. It's a sold-out game in Carver. I would not be shocked at all if Iowa comes out and scores a lot of points against Michigan State. These pack line defenses Iowa has had to face these last 2 games. This is a different Michigan State squad. Iowa will be able to get dribble penetration against Michigan State. They do play a physical brand of basketball, but they like to get up and down. These last 2 games have been played at Iowa's opponent's pace. This is going to be a different game on Saturday. Let's just wait and see. Before we press the panic button, let's wait and see what happens on Saturday. As it relates to their resume, here's what I said about a week ago. Prior to the Northwestern game, and Iowa was rolling heading into that game, I said if Iowa wins one more game, they're in. And I say they're in. I think it's almost guaranteed if they win one more game that they are secure in the tournament field. Now, they've lost 2 straight since I said that. The only way Iowa doesn't make the tournament is if they lose out. And I stand by that. I think if they win one of these last 3 games, they're guaranteed a spot in, even if it's a win at home against Nebraska. I don't see them falling drastically based on a loss at Indiana. Certainly the loss last night's not going to kill you. The loss at Northwestern's not going to kill you. So they end up 10-10. I think they're solidly in. If they're 9-11, they're squarely on the bubble. That's how I see it. And the Big Ten tournament, although it's not as important to your tournament resume as some people make it out to be, if you lose out, boy, you better win a game or 2 in the Big Ten tournament to really feel good heading into Selection Sunday. I think if they win Saturday, they're in. Shelby Mast of USA Today, he's a bracketologist. He had Iowa as a 7 seed, as his number 1 7 seed this morning. That's noteworthy. After those 2 losses by double digits, he's still got Iowa as his first number 7 seed. It'd take a lot of falling in that draw, in that bracket, for Iowa to fall out of the tournament. They'd have to fall below that 11 seed, and I just don't see that happening unless they lose out and some teams move up. That's possible because they got 2 games at home. If you can't hold serve at home, it's going to hurt you. But I think they'll be okay. I think they're going to make the tournament. All right, I think they're going to make the tournament. I think they're going to play better Saturday. I think they're going to win. We'll see what happens, but it's not time to press the panic button yet. The shooting struggles are a concern. Yes, could it rear its ugly head in the NCAA tournament because it's away from home? Absolutely. We saw that against Richmond last year. And if you're Iowa, you look back at that Rutgers game, and even at the Ohio State game, and say, look, we shot well on the road. We can do this. We can shoot well on the road. Yes, we've struggled mightily throughout the season, but there have been examples of where we shot well away from home. there's no reason to think this team can't get it going. But you are up against the clock here as we record this on February 23rd. So just thought I would kind of dialogue a little bit here for you on my thoughts on Iowa basketball. And, of course, Coach Gary Close's thoughts. We'll have post-game coverage after the game on Saturday, which is an 11 a.m. Central Time tip, so stay tuned for that. As far as Iowa football is concerned, we're less than a month away from the start of spring practice. Can't believe it's almost already here. And recently, we had a sit-down conversation with incoming Iowa wide receiver Jarriett Buie at a Jesuit high school in Tampa, Florida. Now, of course, the Hawkeyes have a big need at the wide receiver position. They've done some work in the portal by adding a transfer, and, of course, they also added Cade McNamara at quarterback. That will help, but the young talent, you hope Iowa continues to recruit well. Jarriett was a nice late find in this 2023 recruiting class. So without further ado, let's hear from Iowa incoming wide receiver Jarriett Buie. First of all, Jarriett, thank you for being here. It's been, I'm sure, a wild day, a busy day for you. What's it like to finally be inked in a part of the Swarm officially?
I just want to thank God. It wouldn't be possible without him. And I think it's very relieving. We got all that built up pressure. Got it out of the way. We're here. We signed already. We're like official. And I'm gonna be in Iowa, in June. So,
and your story, your recruitment is very unique. Can you give people an idea as to why you waited as long as you did, and then ultimately what sold you on Iowa?
Well, what made me wait so long in general is just, family issues and all that. I was trying to find something, a little bit close to Florida. It's for moms and stuff, and for the family, it's hard when their child leaves and all that far. Personally, I was ready. I'm ready to grow up, impact this team and all that. But for a mother and all that, it's pretty hard. So at the end of the day, I'm ready to go up there. And then, I got offered late by Iowa. Our first phone call, we had a nice little 30-minute call with Coach Copeland. He offered me like on the spot. He was like, I know, I watched your film, all that. You're a good player. He kept it real with me. And he offered me on like our first phone call. We automatically scheduled a visit like pretty much a week later. And then I just they treated me well. So, here I am.
Well, you had an opportunity. According to your offer list, and I know the offers come and go, Jarriett, but you had some offers closer to home. I would assume West Virginia is considerably closer to home. Certainly South Florida. For anybody that's not familiar with South Florida, it's not really in South Florida, right? It's right there in Tampa.
Yeah.
So, again, what was it that sold you on Iowa? This is an Iowa offense that has a great need at receiver, but hasn't proven a whole lot at that position. That's been well documented, Jarriett. What ultimately was it about Iowa?
Yeah, it definitely was, the visit when I went up there. I went up there with my dad, and my dad liked it a lot as well. Just great people up there, They're telling me they're real friendly, They're telling me, when I get up there, they're just Coach Jones, he was just being real with me, I like that. Majority of the coaches over there, they're real just real with you. And I just like, how he was explaining everything to me, telling me how I can contribute to the offense. I'll go up there and I just got to work, and I'll just go up there and work. When I go up there for the summer, all that working out and stuff, I just got to see where I fit in the offense. X and the slot and the Z, I can play all of that. I don't care. And that's really what sold me. It's just to big time school, of course. Great people, great. They're going to take care of me up there, and yeah.
I'm curious about your impressions of the Iowa staff. Is there any coach that you've hit it off with? Obviously, position wise.
The running backs coach, Betts, he recruits down here. That was one of the first people I talked to. He's real cool. Coach Copeland, the receivers coach. He's actually from Florida, down south. So, there's an automatic connection there. He's just, like I said, they're all real nice. They're all real good people. And they're just giving it to me straight up, So,
the struggles of the Iowa offense. That's, there's no fact or way around that.
Yeah.
But you've got a guy in Cade McNamara coming down from Michigan who is going to be your quarterback, along with yourself, a guy named Alex Mota from Marion. I mean, there is some hope here that this past game's on track. Dayton Howard, a really unique prospect out of the Kansas City area that's been kind of overlooked. What reason do you have to believe that this offense will move in the right direction as it relates to the passing game?
I mean, I just feel as long as everybody, does their part, we go. I mean, we had a young O-line last year. So, I mean, O-line, as long as they get right, receivers, I promise you, we're going to do our job. I went up there, I talked to, on my visit, I was talking to Deontay and all of them. I mean, they're just like, they're just real focused on making the offense better, and I like that. We just got the new quarterback too. Of course, a quarterback is a very big role in the offense. He's going to make some plays. I believe the receivers are going to make plays, and then the offensive line steps up. We're solid.
You are 6'2". Final question I'll ask you, Jarrett, and we'll let you slide. You're 6'2". Is it accurate to say you're approximately 182 pounds? That's what 247 Sports got you right now.
Around there, yeah.
Tell us about you as a player. I mean, you've got some size, you got some good length. On tape, you kind of remind me of like a Jacob Bostic, who we haven't been able to see yet here, but he's a kid from Illinois who similar size, I think, as well. You're a guy I see on tape go up and win a jump ball contest, but you've also got good speed for your size. Tell Iowa fans what they can expect from you as a.
At my school, I've been my 3 years that I started, sophomore, junior, and senior. I feel like I've been used like at every single way you can use a receiver. I mean, I played sophomore year. I was just taking the top off. I was a deep threat. I'd run by people. Junior year, I also played outside. Junior year. Senior year this year, I played more slot because our offense is more evolved around the slot receiver. So I moved in, so I can make some more plays. And then, I mean, I think that showed that I can definitely get that yak. I'm getting a lot of short passes in our offense. And then I think it just shows, my hands with sophomore, the deep balls, the close balls. I think I've showed everything, especially with my blocking. My blocking is, I know that's going to be a big part of the Iowa offense. I believe my blocking is very good. And if you watch my film, I'm cracking linebackers. I'm putting DBs down too. So I have like pretty much every attribute that you need in a receiver, and the speed as well. Like you said, I can turn it on like right after the catch. I like that yak.
Well, Jarrett, it's been a pleasure to get to know you here in the last few minutes, and we look forward to seeing you here in the summer. It looks nice. I see you're outside, right? You're in a vehicle. I see the sunshine. What do I dare ask what the temperature and the weather is like right now in Tampa?
Oh, I couldn't even. It's probably a cool like 80 degrees. That's cool.
Come on. Is it 80 degrees?
Yeah, probably. With the humidity, you know how it feels. It feels around like 80.
Oh, good Lord. Well, here
it feels good. Yeah.
Okay. You know what the weather is here?
Like 10 degrees?
Yeah, I think it's like 20. Well, it might be more than 10 degrees right now, but it's we're waiting for 10 inches of snow tonight. And 50 mile per hour winds. Have you seen snow? Have you been in snow?
Yeah, I lived in Washington State for a little bit, so I've seen snow and all that. But I don't think I think it'll get a little bit deeper in Iowa.
You haven't seen Iowa snow yet.
Yeah. My mom actually went up there when it was like 8 degrees this past weekend. She went up there and she was telling me it's cold and all that. It's fine.
Well, we look forward to seeing you adjust to the Iowa weather, and you got a chance to make an impact fairly early. Jarrett, it's been a pleasure talking to you, and we will hope to talk to you again soon, and congratulations on today. Big day for you, and we look forward to seeing you in June.
All right. Thank you for having me.
Really enjoyed the sit down with Jarriett Buie, and boy, he's going to be going through a climate change, literally, coming up from Florida to Iowa. And look, he seems like a good character kid. He does have some physical traits. He's 6'2", 6'3", that you can't teach, and he's going to have some time to learn. He's going to have better quarterback play. I like the quarterback he's got coming in this class in 23. You've heard me talk about Marco Lainez, so hopefully those guys will gain some chemistry. Jarriett Buie will have an opportunity to play early if he's ready. I mean, there aren't a lot of proven commodities on this roster at that position. Nico Ragaini will be back. Deontay Vines will be back, but, we've only seen him for about a half a season with his wrist injury earlier in the year. So, I mean, look, this should be reason for optimism and excitement for a guy like Buie, and we'll see if he's got the speed to take the top off the defense. He does have the size that you want in a guy that can be your prototypical X receiver. Hawkeyes have plenty of needs at that wide receiver position. So congratulations to Jarriett Buie on recently signing with Iowa. He'll get here in June. And of course, I'll be with you throughout the rest of Iowa basketball season and heading into Iowa football spring practice. Keep it locked right in. Tell me what you thought of our interview with Jarriett Buie and, of course, my take on Iowa basketball. Tell me in the comments below if you're here on YouTube. And, of course, subscribe. Tell your friends about what we're doing here. And we'll talk to you next time right here from the Hawkeye of the Storm.